Go ahead,
Last
man.
night, it was a good atmosphere to start. I was there for the trade. It was a good atmosphere to start. So let's talk about the start. In your mind, because I know one of the questions you asked me is what would the Vikings do to disappoint you? So in your mind,
Mm-hmm.
how did you feel about the night overall?
I'll say this. Looking on social media, so many people were just against trading, especially that far back. I think some people in their minds expected some type of trade back to happen. I know Pittsburgh at 20 was a possibility. They still got their guy with Kenny Pickett, a new quarterback. But I think people overreacted just a little bit because going into this draft, people were just talking about how deep it is and how some NFL teams only had 15 guys with those first round grades. If you're a new GM and a new head coach, would you rather, I guess is the challenge now, would you rather have 12, maybe 20, or would you rather get 32 and 34? That way you get two quality players to possibly hit on instead of just one that might be a flip of a coin at 12. It's an interesting draft strategy, but I think it's one that might work out for this team, especially with who they got at 32.
Yeah, and when you think about that, so you look at the 32nd pick overall, the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, this is what kids are waiting for. This is what kids want to do. They want to put this hat on, they want to get on stage, they want to tweet it out, Facebook it, Instagram it, Snapchat it. This is what it was
You
about.
sure that's
And so,
not you?
of course, I mean, if they drafted me, I'm putting it on and I'm out there. I'm ready to go, coach. Put me a tight end, receiver, I'm blocking, I'm doing whatever. But when you think about that, you look at the kid who they went out and got, and Lewis Cine, everybody was kind of like, it was like the best reaction. I can't wait for the Vikings because we had a camera in the draft room of the stadium. And
Mhm.
some of the people that were caught on camera were the funniest people I have ever. There's a guy that grabs like a bunch of confetti in front and throws it at another guy. He was so mad. Like, I was like, we were all sitting there like, I hope he knows this guy. And so
They clearly don't because
it,
my reaction would have been different.
it was super like, not knows the draft pick. I mean, knows the guy he threw the confetti at. Like, it
Oh,
was
yeah.
just a
Oh,
random
okay.
dude
Got it.
sitting on the ground. And then there's like a lady who skull chants by herself. And the guy looks over at her as if like, hey, look, Denise, we're not skull chanting right now. Like, it was epic.
It was
The
very late in the night
It was
to
like
give
The
the benefit of
Office.
the
It
doubt.
reminded me of a scene from The Office of like Michael trying to get everybody hyped up for this pick, and everybody's looking at Michael like, dude, we don't even know who this guy is. And then people deep dive. So I knew the
Mm-hmm.
pick about 5 picks ahead.
Mm-hmm.
But when you brought up the fans and you brought up Twitter and that, like after that, like Kwesi, overall, what would you say your initial reaction to his moves were?
So whenever I saw the Lewis Cine pick come across, at first I was like, well, they're already pretty set at safety right now with Harrison Smith and with Cameron Bynum. But also Harrison Smith is getting up there whenever you're talking about experience in the NFL. And Cine has been a great player. So whenever I was watching the national championship game, look, this is a Georgia defense that had a lot of talent. Clearly, you mentioned it, the 5 picks on the defensive side of the ball that they had in the first round. But the one guy who kept jumping out over Trevon Walker, over Jordan Davis, over Nakobe Dean, who's still on the board, by the way, in the national championship game, it was Lewis Cine. Just because
Mhm.
the dude was all over the scene whenever you're talking about getting to the football. The guy can play in the run game. He can play in the passing game. He's great in whatever role you ask him to be. Georgia moved him around the field all over the place. So I think that's something the Vikings defense, they say they want to be multiple. I think that they can use a guy who can also run a sub 4.40 in many places on this defense. I like the pick. And also, you need to have a contingency plan for after Harrison Smith leaves this organization. And I think that he could be a great pick. By the way, put Cameron Bynum. Where is his experience in college at? Corner. They
Yep.
rotated him to safety. Right now, we know that this Vikings defense over the last few years, they've had depth issues.
Yep.
I think the more multiple pieces you have to put on that back end of the defense, especially as you kind of tweak things up front, switch into a 3-4, the more pieces you have on the back end, the better, especially moving forward into this season with a new staff.
Yeah, and so looking at the draft overall, though,
Mhm.
day two, it's going to be a
Yeah.
great day today. I'm still like, I was on a podcast with the Vikings last night till 1 a.m. It was cool though to watch Kevin O'Connell walk by me, Kwesi, and then this was funny to me last night. So I'm sitting there in the room, and I'm just trying to be a fly on the wall, stay out the way. And then Chad Abbott from K-Fan comes over to me. He's like, man, why don't you just come sit in there with us? And I'm like, really? Like, now you say that? He's like, oh, I didn't even know you were sitting here. Because I literally, like, I stay out the way. I'm in the back
You
of
could
the
be
room.
part of the brain trust, Ron.
I'm in the back of the room. I'm not trying to be there. But no, so when Kevin O'Connor and Kwesi both jumped on K-Fan, their studio is right. I mean, we're standing right there. I just didn't want to go in the room because I'm like, I don't know what
I don't know if I
these
belong
guys.
there or not.
Yeah. And then he's like, man, you should. So tomorrow, not tomorrow. Sorry, today. It is today now. I'm gonna be in there. Like, I'm gonna be sitting in that corner in the room, listening to Kevin and Kwesi talk, on the radio, because they say, hey, you can sit in here. It's fine. You're in our circle. We know you're not gonna tell. Like, I heard a lot of stuff last night that I can't divulge, but I'm gonna just tell you guys this. It is some awesome conversations between these guys. It seemed extremely organic. It seemed extremely like in tune. There was nobody that didn't agree with what other people were saying.
So practicing what they've been preaching all offseason.
It was so cool to see. And even like the Packers phone call, and when people pick up the phone, and guys looking at each other like, who's calling us now? Like, it was funny, like the way they were doing that. But Hobie, overall, today, day 3, you get 3 picks. Day 2, sorry, you get 3 picks. What do you think the Vikings need to address first with that 34th pick?
I still go back to their top need whenever we were talking about them at 12 and corner.
Yep.
And whenever you saw Derek Stingley Jr. and Sauce Gardner go off the board within the first few picks, I think that really amped up the process and the thought process of, well, maybe we trade back and still get a guy. And I mean, there are going to be guys there. Andrew Booth Jr. from Clemson, that's a guy that a lot of people are high on. Roger McCreary from Auburn, he's played against a lot of great receivers. Jamar Chase in 2019, he went toe-to-toe with him. Granted, Chase got his because that's what he does to everybody. Yep. But McCreary really held his own. But I think the guy that a lot of people need to watch is Tariq Woolen from UTSA, UT San Antonio. I mean, the guy's an athletic freak, a 6'4" corner who can run a sub 4.3 40, I believe. I think it was like 4.26. Yeah. And his vert is extremely good. I think it was the best DB at the combine. That could be a project type guy. Now, I don't know if that's a guy that you want to reach up and grab, but here we got the Patriots last night. They reached up and got Cole Strange in the first round. Yep. That was my quote unquote deep dive pick. So it might go back to, if you see your guy and you want your guy, just go up and get him. Who cares what people have to say?
Yeah, people had Cole Strange late. Yep.
I think that corner is still the top need for this team, because who do you pair on the other side of Patrick Peterson? I think Cameron Dantzler is a great project. He's developed throughout his career, but is he the long-term answer? Because P2 is not like Harrison Smith. P2 is not going to be there forever, and you're going to have to find another guy, especially in today's NFL. With how much they throw the football, you're going to need a guy that's going to be on one side of the field, outside at corner.
Yeah, and thanks to the Timberwolves, this might be one of the most exciting weeks or weekends of Minnesota sports. You got the Twins you got the Twins playing. Man. You got the Twins playing and winning. You got the Wild in the playoffs.
Tigers, man.
They did. Tigers are dumb, though. Tigers made some dumb, like they did some dumb stuff. They did some Lions type stuff. But you look at the you look at the Twins, you look at the Wild, you got the Timberwolves, which made the quafecta, not the trifecta, the quafecta. I'm going to coin that phrase. So the Timberwolves are playing tonight. And of course, we know the Vikings draft is still going to go, but the Timberwolves are playing tonight. Must win game 6. I said Wolves in 6, so of course that can't happen unless I can get back in my time machine and Michael J. Fox can take me back a couple days and I can tell them what to do when they're up 20. But when you look at the Timberwolves, what do the Timberwolves need to do to force this to a game 7?
Close out in the fourth quarter. Not make mistakes. I was at practice yesterday before we went to the draft party, and Anthony Edwards showed up, and also head coach Chris Finch showed up. And the big thing that Finch said was, we can't be playing hero ball whenever we need to win together as a team. We also can't take bad fouls at the end of games, because that's what happened, especially with Patrick Beverley, because if you take him out of the game, he's such a heartbeat to the floor whenever he's out there that it just kind of takes away that energy. But also, whenever Anthony Edwards showed up, he said, I know what coach was talking about. And that was me. That's on me for trying to do too much within myself and not really trusting my teammates. But I go back to this too. Anthony Edwards made that shot with that 3 to tie up the game at 109. Are we talking about a completely different ball game if he takes a better angle on that last layup that John Morant had? Are we? I think we are. And I think that it was just a small mistake that ended up costing him a game. And he said yesterday, pretty much, I was a big reason why we lost game 5. I think that Ant's going to come out with some fire tonight. I think he is, especially in front of a home crowd, because he knows it's on the line. I asked him yesterday, I said, have you ever played in an elimination game? And he said no. He never did. So now's the time for him to really show up and show that he is that dude on that team, because it is trending in that direction, especially after he made that shot to tie it up late.